and recycling bins before and after the drive-thrus. And for priorities, you can suggest that they use smartphones, iPhones, and any other device with data to order their food, drink, combo, etc. online, or make a website that you can order what you want and pay for it, then pick it up.
Thank you, Madeline McDonough. Do any members of council have any questions? Cameron Morton.
Councillor Cameron Morton.
Councillor Cameron Morton.
Hold on, why aren't you coming on? Well, that's what I clicked on.
Maybe because our mic's on.
Oh, that's right. Hold on. Can you go to Councillor? Yeah, there you go.
I have a question of staff. Does the city of Kitchener have a bylaw which can fine people for littering?
Anish Samantha Pudi, can you answer the question?
Oops, you turned yourself.
Yes, we do have a bylaw for people who are littering.
Okay, so next we have
Councillor Lloyd.
I agree. Did you know if everybody in Canada turned off their ignition for 3 minutes every day, it's like putting 196,000 cars off the roads for a year? Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Councillor.
I have a motion. When the time is right.
We'll come back to you.
Councillor Utley.
Councillor Utley.
Have you met with the restaurant industry?
Oh, hang on.
Restaurant industry.
Can you repeat that?
Wait, what? I think that's a good idea, but I think that's for city council and staff to do.
Councillor Potter.
For the smartphones and everything, what happens if people don't have a smartphone? Then what would they do? Like, say if they had that in McDonald's, what would they do about that?
They would, it would be a suggestion. You don't have to do it, but it would help. So if you don't have a smartphone, then you don't have to do it. But if you do, then you can use your smartphone or iPhone or anything with data or Wi-Fi.
Councillor Dykstra. Is there a bylaw that forces restaurants that have drive-thrus to have a garbage and recycling bins before and after the windows. Is that a question for staff? Yes. CAO Anish?
Yes, we do. It's not a bylaw, but like most restaurants should have bins for garbage, recycling, and compost. And I have like a suggestion. So if you're in a drive-through, some people would like toss their garbage to get in the bin, and like sometimes people would miss and they wouldn't get out and pick it up. So the city staff would make the openings of the garbage bins larger, so that if people do toss the garbage in, it has a better chance of going in instead of spilling on the ground.
Thank you. Councillor Jurozovic?
I have a question for the delegate. Do you think it would solve the problem if there was parking space right beside the drive-thrus, and once you order, you would go to that parking space with a sign on it, and it would be saying like a number, so that the waitresses or the people that work in that restaurant would know when to serve you? So like if the waitresses go out and to the parking space, like where there's a sign, like let's say number 1, and they serve you, would that solve the problem?
I think it would be if people think it would be a waste of time or not. So if people don't want to wait that long, then they might want to go to a different restaurant. So it really depends on what they're in the mood for.
Okay. Thank you, Alphahead. Oh, Councillor Alphahead.
I have a question for how much the fine would cost. Like, depending on what they litter, like cans or paper, what would that range would be around the price?
CAO Anish Samantha Booty.
Well, I guess it would depend on what the citizens would throw out. So if it would range, for example, if it was like a piece of gum wrapper, it wouldn't be too much. They would still have to pay a fine. It wouldn't be that much as if you were throwing out like an apple core. It would obviously be a bigger fine, so it just ranges.
That answers my, but like rounds, like as I was trying to say, like you have recycling for cans and paper, but if we could like say a specific price around those range, what would the price be around there? Like if you had to put a number.
CAO Anish.
I feel like that council could make that decision, like for the bylaw, to make a specific price for each object that gets thrown on the ground.
Okay.
Council Sinclair.
Question of staff, can we double fines for littering around drive-thrus?
CAO Anish.
Yes, we could. We would have to change some bylaws, but we could do that.
Thank you.
Councillor Dismore.
I have a question for the delegate. Well, they have for the smartphones. They do cause a lot of problems for with electricity and with different people's health because of what they put into there, or what they put into them. What would you do about that problem?
Can you please repeat that?
The smartphones, they cause issues with pollution as well, with the amount of electricity and different things that they put into the precious metals and stuff that they put into the smartphones. They also cause very bad problems for people's health, and what would happen if they would have issues with that. You would be kind of furthering the problem with the pollution.
I think if they already have a smartphone or anything, then they could use it. But it's not encouraged them to buy one. It's just a suggestion that they can use.
Thank you.
Councillor Kenny?
I have a question for the delegate. Do you think it might help if drive-thrus were only open during rush hour and they shut down when the restaurant is not busy?
I think it might help a little, but it won't help that much. So they could do it like a few days. Like they could do it maybe Saturday and Sunday, but they shouldn't do it all the time.
Okay.
I will now take the last two questions and then the motion. Councillor Potter?
Like for the littering, like for the not garbage, where they're not garbage cans and recycling bins around, how would, like, if we put garbage cans and recycling bins around the city, how would we afford to do that if you wanted to put garbage cans and recycling bins around the city?
CAO Anish?
So I think the taxpayers would have to like maybe have like a inclusion on what should happen for like how they can afford it. And also, before making a final decision about that, like, shouldn't the council find out what the citizens think about the issue?
Yeah.
Councillor Jurozovic?
I have a motion at the appropriate time.
Thank you, but Councillor Lloyd said that he already had a motion. Thanks, you delegation. McDonell. Councillor Lloyd, can I have your motion?
I would like to make a motion that we consider a distance separation by half a kilometer between drive-thrus. This would avoid the increased amount of air pollution in a concentrated area.
Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Dismore. Any comments? Councillor Kenny?
If each drive-through was a kilometer apart, there might be some restaurants that would want to have a drive-through but couldn't because of the distance.
Do any other counselors have any comments?
Empty. B.
Counselor Cameron Morton.
Hang on. Okay.
To ensure an ideal city and an ideal world, we have a responsibility to our cultures, future generations, to protect the environments. These measures are a step in the right direction to build a legacy that our kids will be proud of.
Counselor Sinclair.
I think that's a good choice to make because in Mississauga they do it so that it doesn't concentrate the air pollution in Kitchener.
Any other comments?
So we support the motion.
Any other comments? Counselor Lloyd.
Thank you for your support, Counselor Cameron Morton and Counselor Sinclair. It would be better than cars just sitting there. In Paris, they are not allowed to drive cars on. In Paris, they are not allowed to drive cars on weekdays. Weekends. So this is a good step in the right direction.
Thank you. Now I would like to make my comments. I think the city could enforce the use of reusable cups and containers at restaurants that have drive-thrus. I'll now call the vote. All in favor?
So seven in favor?
Seven in favor? All opposed.
Say everyone's not voting. Please vote.
Everyone is not voting. Please vote.
Okay, so two of them opposed.
Two opposed. Motion carries. We've dealt with this issue. Is there any more issues?
No. Oh, there's Counselor
Yorozovic.
My motion is that I had an idea if we're on drive-thrus, there would be. Oh no, for littering, we should make it more like we should have advertising that would be more dramatic, more we would say we have to do this for the environment, and it would be a big we have to. Yeah, we have to be very persuasive. Like, we have to convince people.
Repeat your motion.
My motion was that like each drive-through would have like a advertising thing, like, so then it could prevent like littering, like it would be persuasive to people to not do it. So that's my motion.
Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Lloyd. Any comments? Councillor Potter.
I think it's a good idea because if you have like good advertisements in the drive-throughs, you can, like what he said, you can persuade people not to do it. But if you have flashy ones like technology, the bad side of that is people can get distracted by it, they can hold up the line, and people can get more furious with the car that is not paying attention.
Any other comments, Councillor Dinsmore?
Any education on pollution around the community is something I'm in favor of.
Thank you, Councillor Lloyd.
If you have a sign on the highway, it's the same thing of having an advertising sign for littering. So I don't think it's that distracting.
Thank you, and now Councillor Sinclair.
I'm not in favor of this motion because I think that we already have enough advertising that people know not to litter, just people choose not to.
Thank you, and now Councillor Cameron Morton.
I disagree with this cell phones and smartphones because, like, as I've seen it from us, usually when I go through drive-thrus, it's usually faster that way because then there's a huge line inside the building of the restaurants, and that I don't think people don't get distracted on their devices because they're usually just wanting to get their whatever they're wanting to order.
Thank you, and now Councillor Dykstra.
I'd like to add an amendment to the motion that if we're going to advertise, not to litter, then we should make sure that every drive-through should have garbage bins and recycling bins.
Is that a friendly motion, Councillor Yurosevich?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, it is. Thank you. I will accept that amendment. Councillor Al-Fahedi.
I just wanted to say that I do agree with the advertisement, is that the citizens of Kitchener that decide not to listen, and sometimes we don't advertise enough. They think that we don't advertise enough, and they decide not to listen and do what they want because we don't put much serious emotion to this problem, and we don't see people litter much because they do sneak off doing that, committing that little crime. But what I've been thinking is that maybe if we do advertise enough, like we can do literacy clubs or like small clubs to teach little kids about the environment, and maybe they could grow on knowing that they shouldn't litter, and maybe there's like going to be a less chance of people littering.
Thank you. And now Councillor Kenny.
I was thinking, when you're in a restaurant, they usually serve your food on a reusable tray. But when you go into a drive-thru, they serve your food in a bag that gets thrown out. So they could use more recyclable products to serve their food on at drive-thrus.
Thank you. I support this motion. And I hope that members of council do too. I will call the vote.
Oh, it's okay. We'll just stand up.
A recorded vote has been called. If you're in favor, please stand up. All those opposed?
And say motion carries.
Motion carries.
So
that's all the time we have for that for today's meeting. And I'd like a motion to adjourn.
So moved by Councillor Kenny.
Moved by Councillor Kenny.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Opposed? Opposed. You don't have to count. Just say opposed.
Opposed?
That's carried.
That's carried.
Motion. Meeting is adjourned.
Meeting is adjourned.
Okay, well, and thank you very much, everyone, particularly those in the viewing audience. Let's have a round of applause for Mayor Urquhart and all of our councillors, as well as our CAO and our delegate. And this has been part of the My Ideal City program, and I just want to take this opportunity to thank the Kitchener Citizen, as well as Rogers Community Television, who have been part of this program, both in terms of getting our successful students to hear, as well as showcasing the program this evening. And thank you again to all of the parents and educators who have been part of it as well. So with that, it's now 6:30, and as Mayor Urquhart has said, good job. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.